The New York Times put out a video a few days ago presenting the perspectives of two Iranians about the war. The first one was from outside Iran who wanted to come back and was against the Islamic Republic. He was saying all the right things. So I want to focus on the second one. Let me try to give a quick summary of this 10-minute speech. She says she was traumatized by the sound of explosions, like referring to February 20th onwards. Her parents supported the 1979 revolution. As a child, she was really good at reciting the Quran, but now turned away from religion and stopped wearing their hijab. In 2009, she joined the Green Movement to protest the re-election of the president, at which point dozens were killed. So since then, she sees no point in protesting, and she figures the best way to achieve change isn't to overthrow the regime, but to quietly resist what she disagrees with. For example, skirts that show knees or not wearing the hijab. And then she cites that taxis that no longer refuse service to hijabless women. That's evidence that this type of resistance works, and she's hoping the ceasefire will hold. So clearly, this is a regime supporter, as evidenced by the fact that she does not like the sound of bombs, but also because she has internet in the first place to talk to the New York Times. So, what I'm wondering is whether these are her actual thoughts or this is some attempt by the regime to feed the New York Times their talking point. In which case, I think it would be interesting to analyze it more closely.
Both can be possible. The New York Times might have found someone retarded inside Iran, or it might be a regime supporter. Either way it could be the case. But the Iranian people. Here's the thing: I've been very active in the fight against the Islamic Republic, and within Iran, I've been in touch with all sorts of people, from regime supporters to reformers to monarchists to communists to separatists to people who are against the regime because the regime is not Islamic enough, right? I've even talked to those people, okay? And I can tell you that among the people who are anti-regime, the people who are hated the most are the people with that narrative. Because that sounds like a reformist narrative. And so the New York Times have managed to get their hands on somebody who is hated by all sides, like the type of people that they're hated by pro-regime people and anti-regime people. And that person, they picked that person as a representation of the Iranian people. So this is a narrative, the idea that we are fighting so that we could have shorter skirts gets on Iranian people's nerves like nothing else. Like, we are fighting so that we could maybe drink some alcohol, maybe that we could have some concerts, maybe that we could party, we could show some skin. The Iranian people are fighting to end the Islamic Republic, not so that they could their skirts could be just a little bit shorter. And they get so offended. They get so offended when anybody suggests that, oh yeah, we're doing this so that maybe we could have clubs and drink alcohol or stuff like that. They're out for revenge. They want the Iranian people don't dream about days that they could finally have like they used to. Their dreams was like, yeah, we hope that we could feel the wind in our hair one day, go out without a hijab and feel the wind in our hair. Today they dream of blood, of mullah blood specifically. That's what they want, to paint the streets red. That's what they dream of. And they want to settle a score with the Islamic Republic. And here, let me tell you something regarding the types of freedoms that this person was talking about, right? We have three types of freedom, right? So we have social freedoms, we have economic freedom, and we have political freedom. And among all these three, the most important one is political freedom, because it's with political freedom that you get to fight for your social freedoms and your economic freedom. And within political freedoms, the most important political freedom is the freedom of speech, because it's with your freedom of speech or your freedom of expression that you get to fight for all the other freedoms that you have, right? If you lose that, then every single other right that you have is a gift that could be taken away from you. It's not actually a right that you have. It's a right that has been lent to you and could be taken away from you at any moment, right? So the cheapest of all freedom, which is important to have, but it's cheap, is the social freedom, right? the freedom to wear what you want, the freedom to listen to the music that you want, the culture that you enjoy, partying, alcohol, whatever the style of whatever lifestyle that you want to enjoy, including, I don't know, like fighting for LGBT rights or anything. Those are social freedoms. So those are important to have, but they are the cheapest ones. Meaning that if you don't have political freedom, then if a regime gives that to you, it's you don't actually have it. You don't actually have it. It gets the most media attention. So, for example, Saudi Arabia could come and say, "Women can drive now," and the world is it gets so much international attention. Okay, but women can drive now, and at the same time that I allow women to go drive, I go and arrest the person that was fighting for it. Right? They did that at the same time. I allow women to drive, and I go arrest the person who was fighting for it, and she gets tortured and raped in prison. And her experience in prison gets less attention than the fact that women can now drive in Saudi Arabia. Let's have Justin Bieber come out. Let's have so many celebrities come. Let's have concerts. Now we have theaters for the first time in Saudi Arabia. And that gets so much media attention. But at the same time, I'm now arresting political activists and dissent more than ever before while I'm doing all of this. So I give more social freedoms while I'll take away political freedoms, knowing that I could distract the media with the social freedoms. And knowing that as long as people don't have political freedom, social freedom, the amount of social freedom I allow to people for people to have is in my control. So the Islamic Republic has a lot of tricks that it could play because it has a lot of social freedoms that it has taken away. So every time the people are getting angry, it tries to, instead of giving what we actually want, absolute freedom, it basically allows it throws some how you could throw some money at poor people, just like coins at people just a little bit. I don't know. There's a Persian saying that it doesn't translate well into English, but breadcrumbs. Oh yeah, I think it's like in English. There's a saying like just throwing breadcrumbs at people. That is, it's cheap. It's nothing. It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't cost me that much at least, and I could just give these people so that they get busy. Go busy. Look, oh guys, I'm giving more permission to more artists to have concerts. Oh, women can sing now. There's women singers in Iran now in concerts. Oh, go get busy with talking about these things while I'll without actually me giving you any meaningful freedom, which is the political freedom, which is the freedom to actually fight, to challenge the regime. And this was working for the Islamic Republic for many times. Every time they felt pressure from the people, every time they felt like there's protests, there might be an uprising, as a way to try to, as a pressure release valve, I think that people usually say, they would just basically give some of these things so that maybe they could reduce the anger, right? And then the Iranian people have figured out that game, that trick so many times now. They know that this is a way for the regime from stopping from absolute collapse, and that's why they always chant. For many years now, they're chanting "Usulgaro, Islah Talab Usulgaro, diye tamam majaro," which means reformers, hardliners, the time is up for both of you, like both of you. And the many the anti-regime Iranians, they hate the reformers more than the hardliners, because they blame the reformers for the Islamic Republic being able to survive this long. And then, but now the Iranian people treat it as a sign of weakness. So now when Iranian women come out without hijab, they don't get happy with the Islamic Republic. They're not thankful to the Islamic Republic. Instead of seeing it as a win for them and getting satisfied, they see it as a weakness of the regime that is retreating. And instead of them making the Iranian people go home because they got what they wanted, it makes them want more, because they think, if you're giving this to us, that means that you are losing against us. So we need to fight even more to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing until you completely collapse. Sorry, that was a long answer. I don't know if that was what you were looking for, but you got it.
I just wanted to figure out whether these are real opinions that actual people have, or it's just what the regime wants us to believe.
So I met some people who, both of those exist. There are people who think like that, and many people get supported by the regime who talk like that. And it's not actually mutually exclusive, right? So the regime amplifies the voices of people who speak like that, right? So it happens a little bit more subtle that, hey, you don't have these opinions, here's some money, say these things, right? It's not like that. The way it works is that some people have this opinion, they notice that because they're saying that, they're given a platform and they're getting supported. So other people notice that these opinions is getting favorable treatment by the regime, and you're getting invited more, you're getting platform more, you're getting supported more. So other people might get motivated to have more opinions similar to this opinion, given that this is how they're getting treated. So that's how it works. It's not like a direct fake these opinions, or it's more subtle. Do you not understand what I'm the way that's how you make it grow? So some people might be acting like not have this opinion at all. Some people are just leaning into it because they're noticing that this is what's getting supported, and that's how it works. Usually, how it works.
All right. Okay, let's go to responses. Jim is first.
First of all, I really want to thank you, Danny, and thank you, Armin, for bringing up the New York Times and the old Soviet Union, because people don't really understand, even in the States, not how incompetent, not how biased the American mainstream media are, but how, I would say, wicked and evil the American mainstream media are. And the fact that they are allying with the Ayatollah regime is not a surprise and nothing new in their history. People forget during the Holodomor or the starvation, the genocide of the Ukrainian people, it was Walter Duranty of the New York Times, correspondent there in the 30s, who was smoozing and doing all these cocktail parties and all of this crap to the Stalinist regime to dismiss what was actually going on in the Ukrainian genocide and the famine, where the Soviet troops were taking grain from the actual people so that they would just starve to death. It was Walter Duranty putting the rubber stamp on that, saying, "The see here, guys, move on." Meanwhile, it was people like Gareth Jones opposed to the New York Times' narrative that ultimately won the day there. So yeah, but by the reason that the New York Times has any credibility in the United States or around the world, it's a complete bubble. It's nonsensical. Because of that reason alone, they are American Pravda. Obviously, not to be trusted. No truth in them. They will always side with totalitarian regimes, no matter who they are.
I want to say in their defense, in this instance, that they published two Iranians' opinions, and I only read the second one. The first one was in favor of continuing bombing and so on, but he was outside Iran, and presumably that's why they had internet. So I think in this case they have plausible deniability that they're just stupid.
Oh yeah, they will do plausible deniability, Dave. They're watching their back, but yeah, people are forgetting the
Plausible as
history.
in, I think it's plausible.
Yeah, yeah, it's all a facade. It's to retain credibility when they have none. Like I said, American
I
Pravda.
agree with you in general, though. Okay, Kat is next to respond.
Yeah, when people talk like that, my first thought is just imagine what the regime people think that the people want. Okay, they think, oh, these guys or these girls just want to wear some slutty clothes, and they just want to show their knees, and that's all they want. They're like stupid people and like immoral people. And then this girl says the exact same thing. It seems like it's coming from the mouth of the regime. That's what I'm saying. It's like a
It's
stereotype.
Yeah, it's exactly what the regime wants you to hear. So you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jeffrey.
Yeah, again, all very good points. You're right. The Mullah regime almost assuredly is behind efforts to disproportionately focus on the superficial manifestation of the deeper significance, the personal freedom, as it's defined by top tiers Maslow's hierarchy of needs, retribution or true restorative justice for those that were murdered, because it's a backhanded way to dismiss and diminish the significance of the motives that underwrites Iranian resistance efforts, much less those that died in pursuit of those goals. Sorry, I'm just so angry thinking about how shitty what they're doing really is. Moreover, the reason they You guys aren't wrong. That's why, again, these efforts are so important, right? Everybody, Armin and Tulsi and Goldie and everybody here, right? These fuckers are trying to focus on the outward expressions of personal freedom, like lifestyle preferences, Western cultural desires, and individual indulgence, instead of really what it is: self actualization, dignity and autonomy, retributive and true restorative justice for those that were fucking murdered. Yeah, that's very common. By isolating and amplifying those surface level behaviors, maligned actors recast the movement as shallow and culturally driven rather than existential and justice driven. It's this distortion that confuses external audiences. It's particularly designed to confuse like Western audiences, with the goal of eroding the moral clarity and political will necessary to support the resistance. So I don't blame you for being angry, Armin. You should be angry. Anybody who supports Iranian resistance should be angry for such superficial fucking drivel, because it shits all over those that have suffered and died in pursuit of liberating Iran.
Okay, and Jim, last response?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeffrey. It couldn't have been better said. And to add on my point about the New York Times and other evil, evil media establishments, where were they when in January 8th and 9th, 40,000 plus of the Iranian people were slaughtered? Where were they? Nowhere to be found. Only complaining about United States intervention, Israeli intervention, anybody responding to the regime with their genocidal brutality. So yeah, man, it's everything of what we do here is important. Armin, I want you to know that you as well, you, Goldie, Maya Artusi, all the rest, have our sympathy, have American people's sympathy, have honest people in the world sympathy who can actually discern what's going on through and away from these garbage media outlets and lenses. And I also say I really appreciate what the Crown Prince has said to the European media in Germany, who will also try to paint him into a corner saying, who are you to resist this government? Who are the Iranian people to do to rise up against the government with what's happened? But without them knowing the other side of the story, obviously the Shah looks bad, but the Shah did a brilliant, or rather, Crown Prince, the Shah's son, did a brilliant job of responding to that.
Okay, and Armin?
Yep. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys saying all of that. I also just want to say how infuriating this is that they published this after witnessing so many Iranian people coming out in the millions and dying in the tens of thousands for liberty. For them to come and highlight this person saying, "Protest, we don't want protests, we just want shorter skirts, and that's our win." That is such an insult to all of the freedom fighters in Iran and the people who sacrificed what for, not for shorter skirts, but for bringing down the Islamic Republic and the return of Pahlavi. That's what they're fighting for. So if this person is fighting for something else, she's not even fighting. Why is it that is being highlighted? Isn't that such an insult to the fight of the Iranian people? Isn't that so insulting to them? Isn't that so insulting to their memory and what they fought for and what they bled for? It's shameful.